final trailer for Venom, The Last Dance, has just been released, and it's brimming with surprises. Audiences won't believe how many hidden gems are packed in. Plus, fans finally get to see a very important character they've been eager to see after watching both the first and second trailers. Okay, let's break it down. Right at the start, you see Eddie and Venom hanging off the side of a plane flying through the Grand Canyon. We can probably assume they're headed to Vegas since most of their big fights seem to happen there. Out of nowhere, they get attacked by a xenophage on the plane. If you've read the Venom comics, you know these things are vicious alien predators from a certain planet, and their favorite snacks are unfortunately the symbiotes. But what they really love is munching on the brains of symbiote hosts. Why? Because when a person bonds with a symbiote, their brain floods with dopamine. The longer someone's been bonded with a symbiote, the tastier their brain gets. And since Eddie's been with Venom for years, it's no wonder this monster is so eager to chow down on him. In the trailer, we see Eddie somehow losing his connection to the Venom symbiote while he's still on the top of the plane, and he immediately falls off from it. Venom's not about to let its host die that easily, as it swoops in and latches back onto him in midair. When Venom says, "I told you we could fly," it's a little joke about symbiote wings. You even see him make a parachute out of the symbiote, which could be a hint that actual wings might be coming later. After they land, Venom says that its home has found them. This seems like a clue that we might finally learn more about Venom's home planet, and maybe even meet some new symbiotes we haven't seen yet. So earlier in the previous trailers, when they were panning across the symbiotes, we only got a glimpse of like 2 of them. But now, in this new shot, we can see a whole bunch more. It looks like there are at least 4 symbiotes, maybe even more hanging around. Definitely way more than we first saw. Then we see Dr. Payne, played by Juno Temple, who's talking to Orwell Taylor, the leader of a military group called the Jury. He's played by Chiwetel Ejiofor, yep, the same guy who plays Mordo in the MCU. Dr. Payne tells him that the symbiotes didn't just randomly show up on Earth, they were actually running away from something. Orwell asks what the symbiotes could possibly be running from. But before we get an answer, the scene cuts, and we see a bunch of xenophages roaming around the symbiotes' home planet. This pretty much hints that the xenophages probably attacked their planet, forcing the surviving symbiotes to escape to Earth and take refuge here. At first, it seemed like the xenophages were gonna be the big bad in this epic finale. However, they dropped not only his iconic throne scene from the comic, but also an awesome 2-second scene showing none other than the god of symbiotes himself, Null. And there we have it, guys. This totally confirms all the theories we had from the first and second trailers, where we thought they were building up to Null's arrival. Honestly, I wasn't expecting more than a quick tease, but it turns out he's actually a key part of the main villain's story. They made us think the xenophages were the big threat, but now it looks like Null's the one pulling the strings. He's probably the one who sent the xenophages to Earth to grab the Venom symbiote. For those who don't know, Null is a serious powerhouse, on the same level as Thanos, if not worse. He's one of the oldest and most dangerous beings in the Marvel Universe. Null came from a time when everything was just darkness and silence. Null woke up when the Celestials invaded his dark kingdom, bringing light. They wanted him to become the king in black, but he wasn't interested. Instead, he reached into one of the massive gods, pulled out a proto-symbiote, and forged it into a sword, which he used to kill a Celestial. So as punishment, the other Celestials banished him into the void with the Celestial he had just slain. Inside the dead god's head, Null made himself at home. Realizing he could create a weapon capable of killing gods, he crafted a new sword from his own being, naming it All Black, the Necrosword. This was the first symbiote, though these early versions weren't perfect and still carried a fear of fire due to their violent creation. He continued experimenting, learning that he could bond his symbiotes to lesser creatures, controlling them like parasites. Eventually, he established a hive mind with his creations, giving him the power to control them as he aimed to conquer the universe. He later creates new symbiotes called the Symbiote Dragon and began conquering worlds, with 2 arriving on Earth only to be destroyed by Thor Odinson. The remnants of the Symbiote Dragons began bonding with hosts across Earth, infesting Null's evil hive mind with concepts of morality, nobility, and honor. Eventually, these new symbiotes turned against Knull and trapped him on his homeworld, claiming it for themselves under the name Clintar. Now, since the Venom movies take place in a different universe than the MCU, I doubt they'll bring up Null single-handedly taking down a Celestial, but I'm hoping the producers get creative and find a way to do him justice. Honestly, it's pretty exciting to think Null might be the main focus of the last Venom movie. It'd be awesome if the trilogy ends with a bang, giving us something unforgettable. So, back to the trailer, there's this moment where Eddie asks the symbiote what Null's name is, and the symbiote tries to pull off this Harry Potter Voldemort's "he who must not be named" line. As Eddie starts to say something that sounds like Null, Venom freaks out and literally wraps itself around Eddie's mouth to shush him up. It's honestly shaping up to be a super fun scene, but what's even more interesting is how scared Venom is, so much so that he doesn't even want Eddie to say Null's name out loud. That right there tells you Null is on a whole other level, way more dangerous than any bad guy they've dealt with before. And the next scene of this trailer shows Patrick Mulligan, who has bonded with the Toxin symbiote since the previous part of the franchise. Let's let there be carnage, telling Dr. Payne about Null, saying, "We have something he needs. As long as Venom lives, everything will end," which further clarifies that Null is really after the Venom symbiote. This line implies that Null will leave Earth alone if Venom is killed or handed over to him. While little is known about Null's role in Venom 3, the trailer offers some clues about how his story could be different from the comics. For one, it seems as though Null is still in control of Clintar rather than being imprisoned on the planet, as evident by the other symbiotes and creatures being sent to attack Earth. In the comics, though, Null's motives usually revolve around controlling dimensions, wiping out races, and getting revenge on the Celestials. So it feels like Venom 3 is making up a new reason for Null to go after Venom and Eddie in particular. The next part of the trailer shows Venom knocking a guy out without Eddie's permission, and then they steal his clothes for a disguise. Looks like we're in for some sort of undercover mission with those two. We also get more emotional moments between Eddie and Venom, showing their bromance and all the quirky stuff they do together. At one point, Dr. Payne tells Eddie that the world won't survive if they stay together, but Eddie decides he still needs Venom. There's also a scene where Eddie talks about how every man reaches a point in life where he has to make a sacrifice, hinting that there might be a situation where Eddie and Venom have to break their bond for the greater good, especially since this is the last solo film in the franchise. But since there are rumors that Venom might show up in the upcoming MCU Avengers Secret Wars, I guess all we can do is keep our fingers crossed. In the trailer, we get to see Venom's symbiote taking over a horse while Eddie rides it, plus there's a cool scene of them on a bike. These two moments are definitely my favorites, along with the part where Null shows up. If the Venom series is to end with a bang, then bringing Null into the Spider-Man universe is as big as it gets. I'm excited because this might just be the biggest film in an otherwise pretty underwhelming franchise. Hopefully things can turn around and give us the fans something we all enjoy watching. Let us know what you think about the final trailer in the comment section.